out our team of content creators, video editors, and really have a full team down here creating it. I've never wanted to be the face of Cabo, especially being a foreigner.
That's the difference between probably my experience to your experience, because when you get invited, they are expecting you to post something, or probably they are expecting you to like take some pictures.
Yeah, have been traveling to Cabo for many years. The first time I believe I was 7 years old or so. It was right around early 2000s, and we were on a family vacation from Boston.
Welcome to the Progressive Design Firm podcast.
Bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Arquitectura Desnuda de Progressive Design Firm. Hoy tengo el gusto y el placer de tener a Jeff conmigo. Jeff es la cara detrás de la cuenta de Cabo en Instagram y en muchas otras plataformas. Tiene también un alto crecimiento en TikTok. Y bueno, es mi gusto tenerlo aquí. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Gracias.
Well, Jeff, first I want to ask you, I did introduce you in Spanish, but I want you to introduce yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, my name is Jeff Spiegel. I am the owner of At Cabo. We are a content, media, and travel agency focused on helping people understand the best things to do, best places to stay, best restaurants to eat at, and really dip their feet into all things Cabo and Los Cabos.
The first thing I learned when I met you is like your expertise and your content creator side is much bigger than just an Instagram account. You know, as you explained, you are a agency for tourism and you are a content creator guy, but you also have this company side, right? What do you offer to business that can align with you?
Yeah, so one of the big focuses for us, based on our following and the way that we've learned business in Cabo and in Mexico in general, is to partner with all of these different companies down here to create different guides for people and leverage them as a way for them to quickly and easily digest information. So best places to get tacos, best hotels to stay at, luxury resorts, best places for sunset, things like that. Those lists, which do very well because they get hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions, but they also allow people a very light touch and light view into who that business is and what they can do. So our goal is to help put a lot of these, again, restaurants, villas, resorts, activities, adventures, everything on the map, because one of the biggest questions I get is, oh, I've been to Cancun, I've been to Hawaii, like what separates Cabo from those? Is it just a resort town? Is it a party town? So it's really just creating different ways for people to digest information, from short form videos to PDF, ebook guides, and really allow them to understand all of the beautiful things that Cabo has to offer.
One of the first things that I noticed when we first met, we were invited to an influencers dinner in a hotel here, and I could sense how good you live, your life. But besides that, when I saw your stories and I was looking at your content creation, I noticed that you have a different kind of feeling on how you want to transfer that information to the people that is looking at it, and I notice a very professional approach. Even the way you record the stories and everything really gives you like kind of the sense of place. You really transfer that different to an influencer that usually is he the one or she the one that is in the camera. You really potentialize where you're looking at.
Yeah, and I think that's somewhere we will dive into further when we continue to build out our team of content creators, video editors, and really have a full team down here creating it. I've never wanted to be the face of Cabo, especially being a foreigner. I just didn't think that would put the brand in the right light. And so the way that I look at it is, show off beautiful things and places and people and focus on them instead of me and my opinions, and kind of let the natural beauty of the architecture here, the views, the ocean, the Sea of Cortez, everything. Like, there's so much beauty here that is very hard to find in a lot of other parts of Mexico, because it's very diverse and unique. And it reminds me of Southern California, where I lived for the past 8 years. And so I want to be able to put my touch on how I think it should be marketed and viewed from Americans, Canadians, and even other Latin American countries.
Well, I can tell right away you're in the right path, and you're actually going to my next question to you is, what is the inspiration behind At Cabo? How you get it there? How you got it there?
Yeah, so I acquired the page through a friend. He wasn't really doing too much with it, had a bunch of other projects he was working on.
Is he still your friend?
Yeah, yeah, he's still my friend. He has done very well for himself, so I don't think he looks back and is like, I wish.
Regrets that.
Yeah, he doesn't regret any.
Maybe he only wants a part of the business now.
Yeah. And so the opportunity came up back in 2018, 19. And I was actually at my girlfriend's place at the time, and he was like, hey, if you want it, I have someone else interested. And I bought it because I had always been extremely interested in marketing. I have a sales background, tech sales, software sales, specifically cybersecurity, which is very technical, not a lot of personality, and a lot of hours just behind a computer, jumping on Zoom calls. And so when I saw the opportunity to really dive in and build this business with the Instagram at the forefront, it opened a whole new world to me, and it's got incredible benefits and taken me in crazy adventures. So,
and now that you have become really a reference in the tourist industry in Cabo, what did you do in your life to get to Cabo? I mean, because you're telling me you were already you were already interested in At Cabo, right? Mm-hmm. So how you got here?
Yeah, I have been traveling to Cabo for many years. The first time, I believe, I was 7 years old or so. It was right around early 2000s, and we were on a family vacation from Boston, and there's just something rugged about Mexico and really liberating, where you can kind of do whatever you want, just stay between the lines. And that was always appealing to me because it's kind of like an organized chaos, which I have always loved. And so being on the West Coast, I would fly down here all the time. But, for Southern California, Arizona, Colorado, I mean, a lot of these places are looking for warmth, especially this time of the year where it starts to get cold. So they're like, hey, I got to go find sunshine. And so Cabo's always been that spot for me, where I see the palm trees, I see the watercolor, the cacti, ATVs, all of this is just like it. I view it as California was 30 years ago or so. So I think it's truly the land of the free, and the people here are incredible. Like, that's probably the biggest shocker, is that everyone here works in tourism one way or another, whether they know it or not, and they're very hospitable, they're very polite and kind, and are willing to help any way they can. And that's the ideal scenario to be, because sometimes when you go to a different country, it's like, you burn some bridges, or get in some trouble, or you're just not really accepted. But I haven't found that to be the case at all.
How long have you been here?
I've been living here full time for about 1.5 years.
Oh my!
So
we're coming for years now.
Many years, yeah. I mean, since I was 18, I'd been coming like every other year. So
and there is something remarkable of what you say. This is the land, the real land of the free, and I truly agree with that. I mean, when I was living in the U.S. after I did my master's degree there, I wanted to come back to Mexico because I felt that in a more advanced society in a way. The grid was too established
Yeah.
for me, and I really wanted to be a little bit like not go on sidelines, but I move within the grid, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what you're referring to in here, that you have like more flexibility to live your life, you know.
Yeah, it's much like a piece of marble where if it's already cut, it's somebody else's vision and they've already built it the way that they want. But when you start fresh, or there's just so much expansion that's going to happen here, and for me to have some role in that, in being part of conversations where it's like, hey, we want more people to come to this restaurant, or this villa, or how can we create something that's concise and visually appealing for these people to want to travel to Cabo, want to go try their food, want to experience Mexico. It's, for a lot of people, this is like their first step into Mexico, and if they like it, maybe they venture on to Mexico City, or Cancun or Playa or Sayulita. I mean, I haven't even explored all of Mexico, but it's like right now my focus is
Well,
Cabo.
Cabo is a great starting point, I guess,
Yeah.
because it's like it's as close to the American and Canadian culture as possible in Mexico, and then you can like dip further to Mexico City or Oaxaca. Oaxaca is amazing as well. So you haven't been in Oaxaca?
No, not I have not, but Oaxaca, PE are on my list. I've been to Mexico City, Sayulita, Cozumel, but that's
Oaxaca is very nice.
Yeah.
Even I was actually surprised as Mexican. I mean, I never went to Oaxaca until I had a project for a big hotel here, and I wanted to design some pieces inspiring the Oaxaca culture. I don't know how to say that in English. But I wanted to design some pieces for that hotel. So I moved to Oaxaca. I mean, out of the blue, somebody told me like you should go to Oaxaca and see that. So I moved to Oaxaca for 3 months, and I took my mother with me. And it was amazing. I mean, it was very surprising that it has such a rich culture and so much of it that even as a Mexican, you get like surprised, And so I truly recommend it to you and to your followers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is Cabo is like the way that this city area region came apart was with influence of the US and Canada and Mexico. So it's like it was built together, which is also why a lot of those people from all walks of life, from every different country, are just so warming to each other. It's not like there's a land, there's no difference, no break between like, the Mexican culture and the American culture. It's kind of intertwined. And, that's kind of the beauty of San Jose, is you can go to a little bit more of that colonial style Mexico culture in just a quick drive, or up to Todos Santos. I mean, you can find whatever you're looking for here. And it's kind of the land of the free.
So I have a client that, I mean, following this direction you are taking. I have a client from Canada that moved with his family. A couple years ago, he started coming to Cabo. He bought a condo here, and then they decided all to move here. Then he bought a house for them, and I kind of remodeled the house for him. And he was just yesterday, he was posting that there are so many things to do in Cabo, that like drags you out of your comfort zone, like just to be watching TV under your couch. Like you can golf, you can go fishing, you can hike. So every day is like kind of and that's the way that I live my life, and
Yeah.
I bet you do. Every day is kind of a Saturday or like a Sunday, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like every day is like you've been living like in constant vacation all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the beauty of this town.
Exactly. It's there's always some work, but the work is so closely tied to things that I want to do, and that's kind of how I've built this business. And it's beautiful because, again, you can go on ocean safaris and see whales, swim with sharks, which is as crazy as it gets.
That's your job.
Yeah, or paddleball, pickleball, tennis, golf, basketball. I mean, there's really like no shortage of things you can get into, and it's just up to you in terms of, you know, what kind of community you want to join here. And that's the nice thing, is there's so many different communities from each major, I mean, even where we are right now, there's a massive community.
Yeah, that's true. So how at Cabo operates as a business? How you manage to do not only what you love doing on the content creation side, but actually to turn it into a business?
Yeah, it really all comes back to making videos and creating content, which is something I've always been very interested in, and seeing all the influencers and how much money they made, you know, being able to do it in this sense where this is focused on Cabo and all things Cabo. It opens your eyes to the possibilities. So for me, it's like, how can I look at this as somebody that knows Cabo very well, but break it down to people that are coming here for the first time? And the business side is, you know, it has its ups and downs. So initially I had thought, you know, one thing, maybe I'm working with hotels more, but you know, it constantly changes. You know, nightlife and the concierge side is always good, especially with, you know, big holidays and New Year's and stuff. But that's going to be the future expansion, is having teams for each group that are focused solely on that. So we have people at, you know, every big event, every main hotel, and just really capturing and trying to digitalize the experience, because I'm sure you've seen it a million times. When you're creating a house and you take pictures of the house, you don't fully understand the feel of it. You can't understand like how the vibe in the room is, because pictures are basically black and white. You know, it's static. There's no emotion to it. But when you create these videos, that allows more senses, from reading to listening to seeing as you move throughout. And so that's what's inspired me to kind of leave the corporate America world and dive into something where this is never going away, whether it's short form content and videos with Cabo or my next venture. I mean, all of that is just so critical, because it's the best way for us to use all of our senses to understand the video or the film that's being portrayed.
How do you manage to like do do it like optimize your time? You know, because that's a good question, right?
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I mean, organized chaos is definitely that. Like I always have a whiteboard in my house that I'm writing things down, erasing. I have a notebook that I bring everywhere, where same thing, you know, I write some notes down, and then, you know, ultimately block it off the calendar. But I've gotten a pretty good system in terms of like what's most critical. And when you go back to my sales instincts, it's like, okay, you know, close to revenue, money, like that's always number one, and then everything falls off of that.
So that was one of my my next question. I mean, I have tons of friends that are influencers, and they have their own personal brand, you know, and they are always, you know, always trying to make their brand, you know, get bigger and more recognizable. But they always face the same issue that everyone wants to do, like collaborations without really paying. So you're laughing.
Yeah, my messages are full of that, you know.
So how you start? I mean, I understand the importance of that when you start, but as you say, you come from corporate America and you are very business oriented as well. So how you manage like to when do you place the line that say, okay, this is not only for content creation fun, it's also a brand and it's also a business that has to operate under profit.
Yeah, it's pretty profitable for me, because it's basically a one-man band with some virtual assistants that help me organize some of it. But I've worked with large influencers. I will continue to evolve that side of the business as well as content consulting agency and video editing, because there's such a rise in great businesses that aren't advertising. And when you create your own content, it's very low cost and it has the potential to go viral. And we've seen it a number of times where small business, restaurant, hotel pops off, and now it's got steady business. So the key is consistency and quality, and you just have to keep testing, because you have to figure out what works, and then that's when you double down, triple down on that, because it's already worked once or it's worked for another business in your category. So you're always reading and learning and trying to understand. But number one is be able to do what you can deliver on. And number two is, show your personality with that and make it concise and action packed, if you will.
When you say that consistency and quality, and you have to do that, how you manage to do it for your different platforms, but giving each platform a different vibe, because it's not the same feeling that you have, for example, in TikTok than the one you have on Instagram, in your Instagram account.
Yeah, TikTok is much more, people don't care about the name of the page. It's just personalizing and being very, it's as if I'm talking to you. So when you create on TikTok, it's all about talking to the person. So you want to start with, 10 ways that you can do this, or here's how I built blah, 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 because people want to watch that evolution of the video and feel like they're part of it. So with Instagram, it's a beauty reel, it's architecture digest, it's, all the pretty things. But with TikTok, you can post the same video with 10 different captions, text on screen, slightly different music, and people don't care as much, because if one of those does well, they're not looking at your feed the same way on your profile. It's not nearly about being as cute as it is being personal.
You are also in the business of offering experiences to the people that actually reach to you. If someone is planning or have been coming to Cabo for a while, what is really what that Cabo difference is that they can offer? How you manage that?
Yeah, it depends on the person, their age, and what they want to do. For example, a lot of the groups that I'll work with is bachelor or bachelorettes, and it's like, I know they want to get a yacht one day and go to Rosa Negra or Bagatelle and have a chef come to the villa, maybe a videographer, stuff like that. I just had another couple that booked an ocean safari, which is something that I see growing a lot here, because it gets people out on the water. They're almost guaranteed to see whales. Like, that's one of the craziest things that I've learned here, is that it's not if you see a whale, it's, if you just take a boat out, even if it's a panga, you will see a whale. It's guaranteed if it's in season. And so there's so much aquatic life. So from that to golf to, surfing, there's something for everyone. So you have to understand where their threshold is. Like, one of my favorite things is always jet skis or ATVs or UTVs, because I like the thrill seeking and, going fast and messing around.
Well, that's very true. The other day, my partner and I went to the beach down here. His goal was to see a whale, right?
Yeah.
From the beach. So we went down there. We took a cinnamon roll that we had in the kitchen, and we just said, let's go eat it at the beach at the sunset time. So we went there, and it was beautiful. It's impressive how 5 minutes walk away you have some crazy landscapes and beautiful sunsets right there in your backyard, right? We actually saw a whale for a while, just jumping around, and the bunch of boats going behind her.
Yeah.
It was very, very nice. So it's guaranteed you're gonna see a whale in Cabo if you're in the right season.
Yeah, if you're on the water, you will see them, and sometimes you'll see pods of dolphins too. And there's obviously, incredible fishing and safari. I mean, it really depends on what you want to do.
Can you talk about a partnership that you have done with, I mean, if you don't want to mention brands, that's fine, but like kind of the way at Cabo actually works with a client, and what was the purpose of that collaboration, and that partnership, what really achieves for the client,
Yeah.
and how you get involved?
Yeah. So the main partnerships that we're doing now, and why it's evolved this way, is that we figured out that people want these guides, these ebooks, to understand, okay, these are the best restaurants based on this category or this location. And so that way that people digest. So now we can create content about that, which pushes people to the guide, which helps them book that reservation all through the guide. So I basically view what we're doing as like lead generation. We want to give leads to their team and bookings. And so originally it was a little bit more complex, which took a lot more work on my side from, okay, I'm interested in, booking this place. Okay, now I have to reach out and go book that. And there was many steps to it. But for a number of the nightlife companies that we've worked with, or spring break companies, it's, creating that excitement around, why should I go to this place and not that place? Or, is this place actually good? So there's so many choices of places to go. And so that's why the guides kind of help to narrow it down for, these are the Cabo recommended. They have our stamp of approval, the business handles their stuff there,
And that's actually my next point right here. It's really was going in the direction of content creation, but you can transfer that to partnership creation maybe. How Jeff selects to showcase X or Y as the best of those Cabos.
Yeah. And there's one, I could post a single video of this hotel and it may come off as more of an advertisement because it's just one hotel. But some other ways to do it are the lists, for example, like, just walking through the, 5 best seafood places in Cabo, and have some voice behind that as to like why I chose this place or why I chose that place and what separates them in terms of cost or location or type of specialty that they have, because a lot of it can get grouped together. I think everything here is like a international Mexican seafood vibe. And so it's like, how do I know the difference between this one and that one? And what are the, top dishes? And so that's kind of the exciting part, is like, we know what they do, we know that I think there's a stat out there that like 30% of the restaurants downtown are seeing less traffic. So for me, it's like, if I can help them and we both make money together, then that's the optimal partnership. Because
and I was about to say that, I mean, the power that social media and accounts like you, or like the one you have, they have tremendous power. I mean, someone sees it, and I was just saying that before. My partner is from Spain, and well, he was living still in Spain, and he was about to move to Cabo. He started following you, then he was like, "I want to go to the restaurant," and he started sending me where you were, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of following your steps, and it's crazy that power, how it really shapes some people decisions, and when you collide with someone that actually follows you, like we did collide, you realize the power of your content creation has, that actually adds I would say a responsibility on you to keep it authentic, right?
yeah.
And to be true to yourself and to your followers. How you start building that responsibility, and how you feel like that on your shoulders, let's say, somehow.
Yeah. There's plenty of places that I wouldn't want to post because I don't want to put them on the map. It could be a beach, it could be a taco shop, it could be, somewhere that I want to keep small, because I do get people all over social media that, they're upset because the sun came up today. It has nothing to do with me, but they, I'm the avenue that they're going to lash out. So, some people are like, oh, don't, talk about this or don't talk about that. And so it is a delicate balance of, we have over the many years built up a trust and a community. And so we do carry some weight, but at the same time, it's like, if I don't post about it, some other influencer could, and that could go viral, so it's kind of just like a do good to people and they'll do good to you. And so it's like, you can't control the internet.
How you actually happen to keep it like kind of accessible to everyone as well? Because of course you are always aiming to post the best of Cabo, and usually the best of Cabo is the most high-end spaces in Cabo, and you get probably a lot of invitations to those places. So how you keep it accessible for everyone,
Yeah, I think that the goal has always been to show off the middle and top tier places, and from there people will shake down, but those will get the most views, the most eyeballs, because they are extraordinary,
impressive.
Yeah, the architecture, the design, the views, all of that. So I've always wanted to market it that way, because if you go the other side and you chase the $20 Panga tours and the other stuff, you can't really go from that to selling the 100-foot yachts. So it's kind of a delicate balance of building your marketing and your ideal customer. And that goes back to like the influencers that are just starting out. Look at the content that you're creating and try and figure out what kind of demographic you're going towards, and does that align with the other people in your space that you see doing that. The beauty of social media is I could say, hey Americans, and it'll reach an American audience. So there's always that, like, try and show everything in the best light regardless of the dollar value, because the cost of something is arbitrary.
I mean, the destination is already a high-end destination.
Yeah.
I mean, you are kind of forced already, like to be talking to certain demographic, right? But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Everyone can find something within your content that goes to them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the man behind the brand. So you started working with at Cabo, and you actually position it, I don't know, I mean, I would say fairly quickly, because I mean, you have been working with it for a few years, but honestly, the traffic you have is very impressive. Why did you choose back in the days, and you're still maintaining that, to be behind the scenes? Like, people, like, they don't recognize you as at Cabo.
Yeah, I go back and forth with it all the time, because in my opinion, it is always a personal brand, even when it's not. And you see a lot of large influencers that had these kind of theme pages, they would call it, where it's, memes and jokes and videos. Eventually they realize, like, brands that want to advertise with you, they want, like you said, they want to see your face. They want to know that you are the guy behind it. But I think for travel destinations, and being a gringo with a beard, and I'm not exactly the guy you want to see when you think about a tropical Mexico destination. So
well, that's your idea.
well, that's exactly it, is by being una fantasma, I'm behind the scenes and I can pull the strings, and it highlights the places, the other people and the environment, more than focusing on me and myself. So it may change someday. I think I just need a couple content creators that really want to, put in the spotlight, and that's what we're hoping to build out in the next few months.
Well, at the same time, to give you, as I see it, an opportunity to really kind of being like kind of I don't know, not to show yourself, and just go to the places and enjoy every place authentically, without having to carry the brand with you, all the time.
Yeah,
so.
It is nice because I can hide in plain sight. Most people here don't know me, so I don't have to worry about that, because that is, part of the aspect of being in a foreign country. Like I'd rather be rich than famous. And
But you
so
are. But you got there.
yeah, I mean, there's still a long way to go. But again, it's just like, I know what the people want to see, and what I've curated, it doesn't really align. And maybe down the road, I tap into more of the luxury agent, travel creator style, where, Cabo is a partner of mine, but not everything. So I've thought about it. I think it'll get there eventually, because people want to see kind of the raw behind the scenes, very much like with these podcasts, or, just random day in the life. And I think that's really where TikTok shines is, I've taken videos where I'm just going down the Returno with a nice view of Land's End, and it gets, couple 100,000 views, and I'm like, I took the video just out my car window. 10-second video. So it's always funny like that, where
How it works, right?
yeah, and you can never, I mean, there's times I've spent days and days editing one video and it doesn't do well, and then days where I take a couple videos and it pops off. So
You know what? That relates a little bit to what we do here, right? I mean, I was earlier today. I was talking to you and telling you like, the podcast is my hobby. I love doing this podcast, but really, I'm an architect. I'm focused on my design firm, And in architecture or in design, you can, like, when you design a project, you could be designing the project like for you forever, really, or you can be editing a video and doing stuff to it, to the light or to the colors, like, for a long time. But there is a point where you have, like, to optimize your time, and that was my question before. That at the end of the day, you just have to let it go and move to the next one.
Yeah, move quick, learn fast. I mean, that's always part of it, especially making these videos. There's some creators out there who will have the same first 3 seconds of every single video, and then it changes, because the way that you get people intrigued, there's a million ways to do it, but you have to find kind of your niche. And sometimes it's like, the more you think about it, it just builds up real estate in your head, and just ship it, just send it, just.
So you think your niche is actually looking to see Cabo, like, in I know, with your personal touch, because it's involved in it, but like a little bit impersonal at the same time, like without the influencer in the filter, but just Cabo.
Yeah, I mean, the focus is the people that live here, the beautiful places to go here, things to do, places to stay. I mean, some of these hotels, just the rooms themselves, you never want to leave, and they have incredible concierge and butlers, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And so that's really the focus, is like, my experience is just a reflection of the places that I've had the opportunity to go. And I think that's really important, because the experience of it is better than me being in front of the camera. It's if it's necessary. I'm not
you probably will be up to it in some point, or as a side thing.
Yeah.
In here it says that I should talk to you about experiences running at Cabo, and we were just sharing a mutual experience. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. This is something that's very familiar with a lot of influencers, regardless how big or small. Companies want to work with you. I have influencers from 2,000 to 2 million that are like, hey, let's work together. And that means something completely different to everyone. And so, if you get invited to a dinner, what does that mean? Are they paying the bill? Am I paying the bill? Is there a discount? So it's always unique. And at the end of the day, it's all about transparency, right? But
yeah, it's not that you want. I mean, of course, I get invited to some dinners. I mean, much less than you are get invited. But I always, I mean, now after an experience to a super high-end restaurant that I was invited to, I went there, and at the end of the night, the bill came, and that was surprising. Well, it was shocking to me because I didn't expect it, Of course, I took my credit card and I paid the bill,
Yeah.
and that's it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but after that, you learn, and it's not that you want to get invited. I mean, you don't, or you need to get invited.
Yeah.
It's not about that. As you say, it's transparency, because you put it in a nice way. You said it's like a little bit weird that somebody invites you to be a customer, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, now I ask right up front. I always ask if they are taking care of the
Yeah.
bill, and if I am allowed to bring a plus one. Sometimes if they say, yeah, we sometimes they do say we take care of your bill, and if you want to bring us someone else, you pay their bill. And usually I agree to that. I'm like, yeah, great, let's do it.
Yeah, it's not as much about the money as it is like understanding the act that is, inviting somebody to spend money at your restaurant or experience. So that's always part of the game. And then at the same time, creating content for them and balancing that. And that's something that I go through all the time, is like, sometimes I just want to go out to eat. I don't want to have to, take pictures walking into the restaurant or the atmosphere. It's like, I'm just going to go have a couple tacos. Like I'll take videos later if I want to come back. But
Well, and that's the difference between probably my experience to your experience, because when you get invited, they are expecting you to post something, or probably they are expecting you to like take some pictures and so on, right? So they get something in return, really. When I get invited, I just get invited.
conversation is worth more than
Yeah.
the business connections. And so that's why, when you invited me on the podcast, it's like, it's such a tight community here,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
everyone knows everyone. So, there's always going to be a path forward for us to work together, or somebody to see this and be like, oh, wow, I want to.
That's funny that you mentioned, because yesterday I went to the office of Dr. Pedro Literas, downtown in Cabo. And I went there, and he came out of his office, and his assistant was there. And I actually say, hi, Pedro. And he was like, hi, Luis, how are you doing? And it's actually kind of the first time we actually met directly, And the assistant was like, oh, you already know each other. How you know each other? And I'm like, well, we live in Cabo,
Yeah.
That's how we know each other.
Yeah.
It's a very tight community. I mean,
And for the people that have grown up here, they've seen their friends work at, this place, that place. And so that's, even part of how I met a bunch of people is just through the page. Like, yesterday, for example, I had coffee with someone. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to meet this guy named Jeff who's Cabo. Like, I don't really know what to expect or what to do. And so that's kind of the excitement of it, is that, there's so much here and everyone wants to build it up.
but that's part of that's part of the essence of Cabo. It's like people take things like much in a easy way than the rest of the cities I have known. Like, I mean, when I was here first, I used to go to the Walmart, for example, and it was so hot outside. It was plain summertime. I used to leave my Jeep, running on with the AC, and I went inside Walmart to do my groceries, and with the Jeep running outside, and I came out, and everything was there. I mean, it's at the same time, it's very safe to be here. The other day I was driving to Costco, and I noticed one of the cashiers was on the other side of the road. So I stopped by and I say, I'm going to Costco. Are you going to Costco? Oh, yeah. It's my shift starts in 10 minutes. I'm like, I mean, for
Yeah.
you not to cross
Yeah.
the road, I can take you there. And she came in my car, and I took her there. And that's how this community, I think, it still moves, like it's a very easy flow, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's something that I love about Cabo.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone, which is also part of it. Do the right kind of business, and people will want to help you and introduce you. And so that's the nice thing about living in like a smaller city. And I've always chosen to live in smaller places because the big cities are just wasn't really the vibe for me. But Cabo is like a big town or a small city, and you can meet a lot of people and find your community.
How do you think the social media in the region, in terms of businesses? I mean, we already talked about how at Cabo can help businesses, right? But how businesses in general should involve in social media? What's the trend you see in the region?
Yeah, I think the goal should be to post one video every day because it is such a compounding effect. And I've noticed it across a few different pages that I work with, where the moment that you stop and you say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, it's just like going to the gym. It's like that's why consistency is so important, because by creating a video, the first 100 videos you make are going to suck. And then, you start to get better and better. And that's part of the learning process. And it doesn't take a lot of time. And so for a lot of businesses, and one of the things that I love here is there's so many entrepreneurs that are creating content and starting to stamp their brand and what they're doing, from real estate to activities and creating content, that I think that's going to be an area that we see a lot more of, where social media is going to be a massive part of sales, because first people have to see your restaurant. And if you're not on a big street, just like in real estate, if you're not in the top tier location where people are walking, you're not going to get a lot of visitors. So you have to view social media. And this is really my focus with the digital side, is like, people aren't always going to be able to go pick up a magazine about Cabo or see this, because they might not walk by that, but they still want that information. And so when things are digital, you can scale it infinitely. And so that's why creating that video that you make today is going to live on for the next, 10 years. And sometimes it takes a little while for that video to really pop off. And I've had some where, it did okay, and then months later, somebody saw it and shared it, and it just started growing again. So when you play the long game, especially with all things digital, number one, you can track everything, all the analytics, the clicks, but you also have basically a small business within your business that just continues to grow.
That's what you're saying is very certain, but I mean, you still see like these two parts of people that, for example, I completely agree with you, and I see the whole potential of doing things digitally, because then you can, I mean, there is no top the way you have scale it, there is always more. But on the other side, you see these people still doing business the old fashioned, and I respect that a lot. But you see them like fighting against the trend, really. There are some magazines in town that they have been struggling. I mean, you can tell, to move to the digitalization of their content. Do you have any advice for not only for them, but for any owner? About how to move to more digital world?
Yeah, the easy answer is hire somebody young, because they know how to operate all that stuff. But I think regardless of the business, like, I think there is a big divide with old Cabo, which is the people that have been here for a long time, a little bit older, and kind of the young Cabo, who are more the builders, the adventure seekers. And I think we're starting to see that shift. And it all comes from making videos, and in the videos that you make for your architecture firm or for the podcast, like, somebody just has to see one of those and then be like, oh, that's exciting, I want to work with him. But when you don't put out who you are, what you can do, you have to be your biggest promoter. And so for restaurants or activity companies, if you're not promoting your business, then how are people going to find you?
Yeah, and I see the people. I see a lot of people really struggling with this, because they are an older generation of business owner. New owners, really, they are on another level, as you said. And I completely agree with you that the easy answer is just buy, just don't buy, but just hire someone, John. And I do it even with my business, I mean, I'm not I don't feel myself like I'm old, but I'm an older generation than a new generation of architects. And when I'm hiring new architects, I'm always achieving like, okay, what can I bring to the table? I can bring expertise, but I can bring fresh ideas, or they are just more used to manage the softwares, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, an architect should be an architect. You know, like your goal shouldn't be to focus on the digital, the media side, because
Correct.
you're great at being an architect. And so for you to start fresh on the other end is like, it's going to take you years to get, you know,
Yeah,
remotely.
the learning curve is gonna be
Yeah.
too long.
And they make it easy. I mean, the new phones and how quality it is and the stability, they do a great job. But again, you know, any business, regardless of what it is have your, you know, optimize the people you have and to do what they do best and efficiency. So if you're not, you know, if you're an older person who has a business down here and you don't know how to make that transition, you know, talk to me, talk to somebody that you know is already doing that, and then hire it. And it also goes back to the kids that want to get involved in media, want to be an influencer, you know, start creating videos. And then when you talk to somebody, much like a builder or an architect, when you can show the portfolio, that speaks volumes versus, you know, oh, I want to be an architect, you know, like,
Yeah, completely,
like
completely.
build yourself up, and you'll find the right people.
Reflecting to the back, when you started with that Cabo, when was like the turning point when you say like, okay, this? I mean, probably you have two turning points. One when you start like growing confidence in it and saying, okay, this has a future, or where you starting actually looking at it as a company that actually is profitable. What's the turning point? I mean, I would like to know.
Yeah, I think it was when I finally made the decision to move down here. That was the big, and even before that, I was actually in Croatia on vacation, and I was with my friend, and I love adventure, I love traveling, and the thought of going back to California and having to work at this job, it was just like, you know, they call it Sunday scaries, which is like before Monday, you know, you start to get the anxiety
Yeah.
and you're like, and so when that happened, it was like, something's wrong. I've been in the same place for a while. Like I need a change. I need an adventure. And so, I decided to move to Cabo, and that floored everything, because it was like, okay, I'm going to be down there. Like, who do I work with? Who should I work with? What kind of companies are, and learning the business side of the Instagram is like a totally different journey than just posting videos.
And my next question was actually, which how much time in advance do you kind of organize what you're about to post? I mean,
It depends. If it's for a brand, I usually plan that out a little bit better, because, you know, some of them have X number of posts per week, or if I know I have an event coming up, it's like, okay, I want to get a decent turnaround on that. You know, I don't want to post months later. And a lot of the brands that I partner with have their guidelines where it's like, you know, you have a week to post it. But in general, it's like I have a bank of videos and folders where I'm like, these are good videos, you know, I can post them. And part of it is giving away some of the secret videos that have done well before. I'll repost them every few months, because if it did great with my audience there and a lot of people commented and, you know, were interested in it, then it'll probably do well again. And so I'll just kind of put that in the rotation, and I'll break down like, why did this do well? You know, outside of a crazy visual or sunset, you know, that you can't really recreate that easily, you know, there's elements to that video that you can create and base off of. So that's why for a lot of business owners or people that want to start, like, find your first big video and then make that 100 different ways.
what would be like the biggest challenges you face now with that Cabo?
Um, Probably doing everything and not having enough time. That's really the biggest challenge that I have, which is a blessing and a curse because it's all on me. And I've hired employees before for this business and other businesses. And, when you're managing someone, how you would do something is not always how they would do it.